Ben's off feeding some of the animals, so I'm left here to feed some of the humans. So I'm going to make a nice little apple crumble with a little bit of a twist, but it's going to be really beautiful and delicious. So first thing I'm going to do is prepare the apple. So I've got a lovely Granny Smith apple here. They're the perfect sort of apple to cook with because they have quite a high acidity content. So I'm just going to cut them into little wedges. They just do such an amazing job here at Bonorong. Huge amount of injured wildlife happens because of lack of knowledge of what people can do. So that's quite a good thing for people to educate themselves about. And as a community, we can do our little bit, which is going to help them increase the population of our wildlife. But I'm keeping the peel on today just so that the apples hold their shape a little bit, so you've got a little bit of structure to the dish as well. And I'm also going to just toss the apples in a little bit of honey. So what I'm hoping to achieve is a nice little caramel sauce that we're going to cook down the apples and honey, and as we're doing that, the honey will caramelise. Once the honey is caramelised, got that nice dark rich colour to it, we're going to add a little bit of cream which will turn it into a nice caramel. So that's going to be the base of our dessert today. So I've just added a really good pinch of salt to the dish as well. I like to add a little bit of salt to any sort of sweet dish that I'm doing. It just helps to intensify that sugary flavour. So there'll be a little bit of moisture that will come out of that apple as well. That moisture will in turn help that syrup turn into a nice caramel, which will be beautiful. So the apples have reduced to where I want them. They've got that beautiful caramel sort of dark syrupy thing going on. So I'm just going to add a really nice big dollop of cream, which is going to turn it into a nice little caramel, which will be a beautiful sauce that's going to surround our apples today and be the basis of our dessert. And we don't want to agitate the apples too much because we don't want them to break up. So we'll just coat them, and they've got that beautiful little caramel that's going to be a nice little liquid in the bottom of our plate for a dessert. And then we're ready to plate up. Ah,
that was so much fun.
You've come at the right time.
I've been everywhere at the right time today. I got to feed the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
I got to play with the wombat and give the wombat a little cuddle. It's been brilliant.
Oh.
And now I get fed again.
Yes, that's my turn to do the feeding.
That looks good.
Yeah, so I've got a nice, try that. Tell me if it needs a little bit more salt. I think when working with caramel, it's always...
I reckon that's spot on.
I'm pretty heavy on the salt.
That's really good.
Beautiful. So you can see that it's quite a thick sort of sauce, and that's going to, as it cools, it's going to turn into a beautiful caramel.
That on its own is a great recipe. You can put that on top of pancakes.
And it takes 5 seconds to do.
French
it's
toast.
pretty quick. And I'm just adding a little bit of crumble to the top to make our apple crumble.
Now I went and fed a Tasmanian devil. Do you think they're ferocious?
Well, they do sound ferocious, given with their name, devil.
They're not. They've got really good table manners.
Do they?
Yeah, they're really calm. According to Greg, they're not a ferocious animal at all.
Yeah,
around
wow.
tucker time they are, but most of us are around tucker time. My stomach's growling, so I'm going to be pretty ferocious when you give me that. But they're quite well behaved and not as aggressive as people make them out to be. But I guess it's that name, isn't it?
Tassie devil.
Freaks people
I think
out.
that's why people have a bit of a negative sort of stance on the Tassie devils.
But I wouldn't change the name for quids. I reckon it's such a cool name for them, the Tassie devil. But I guess we just don't have to think of them as devils. They're a really nice and iconic Tasmanian animal. And I'm so proud there's a place like this in Tasmania looking after them.
That's it. They do an amazing job here as well. And so that is our apple crumble. Let's see how your table manners are.
But that's not going to be anywhere near as good as the devil's table manners.
What do you reckon?
It looks good, it smells good. They're all good signs.
Hopefully it tastes good. That's the important thing.
Oh.
Yum. Well, I have used your crumble, but they're my apples.
So good.
So
Passion fruit's really good on there.
Passion fruit's awesome on there. Adds a little bit of acidity. But,
yum.
It's nice with those Granny Smith apples.
Why don't you have a fork?
Yeah, I don't know why I don't have a fork.
It's a good thing, I think.